So the tiny gold ring in the case in here is called the Stockton on the Forest ring. It is unsurprisingly from Stockton on the Forest, which is a small linear village just to the north of York. This ring, it is gold, and it's got a whacking great red glass setting in the centre of it. It's probably meant to depict garnet instead, it's a slightly cheaper version of it. And it's surrounded on three of its sides by tiny little gold filigree nodules. The three individual things around the side probably depict part of the Trinity. It's associated with ecclesiastical imagery, which is very popular in the medieval period. This thing is 15th century in date, and where it was found, there isn't a huge amount of medieval settlement. This object was acquired through the treasure process, so it is, in a very legal sense, treasure. Any object which is more than 300 years old or more than 10% by weight of gold or silver can become treasure. If something is declared as treasure, it gets reported through to archaeologists and then has this status acquired to it. This is very important because anything that is treasure is belonged to the state rather than to individuals themselves. Because it's owned by the state, museums like ourselves can try and acquire this stuff. It had a value placed on it by an independent valuation committee, and we pay that money towards it. That money is split between the landowner and the finder, but it means that the really interesting and particularly the really rare and usually the very valuable objects that come from the communities around York and North Yorkshire don't disappear off into private collections and become to places like ourselves where they can be enjoyed by everybody. So history hasn't finished. It keeps marching onwards. We try to have as representative a collection as we can. Our collecting area is York and North Yorkshire, so other museums deal with the other parts of Yorkshire. We specialise in York and North Yorkshire, and we deal with everything from the Paleolithic period right up to the modern day archaeologically. So we've got most of time in history in all of Yorkshire, so we've got a big task in front of us to try to be able to deal with all of this material.